driving go-karts as a kid to driving standard shift cars down abandoned railroad beds at the age of 13, cars have always been important to Paul Annunziata. Beginning at age 16 with a 650cc matchless motorcycle and drag racing his 55 Chevy Hot Rod, Paul has owned and driven a variety of different cars, but his 1975 Plymouth Duster is special. So special that it recently traveled cross-country to its new home in Jay Leno's garage. HCAM News sat down with Paul to talk about how he built the car and about its new home in L.A.
This car is a 1975 Plymouth Duster. It has a 1968 426 engine in it that came from a Dodge Super Bee.
After graduating from Jim Russell's International Race Drivers School in Norfolk, England in the early 1970s, and as the valedictorian of his class from National Technical Schools in Los Angeles, California, Paul had the idea to build a pro-stock class drag car for the street.
When I was in California going to school, I used to go to Orange County Dragway. And the cars back then in the 70s, they had a class called Pro Stock. And these are the Pro Stock cars, the Mopar Missile and the Motown Missile. They were two black Pro Stock cars that I came up with the idea, and I wasn't the first one to do it, to take this car, this Pro Street drag car, and put it on the street.
Putting the Duster on the street took a lot of work with many modifications.
What that incorporated was these large tires. They cut the wheel wells out, the factory wheel wells out of the car, and modified the trunk and put in new wheel wells so that they could narrow a rear end housing and put wide tires all up underneath. There was nothing protruding beyond the outer extremity of the quarter panels. Then the rake angle of the car, wheelie bars that are on the back.
I saw those.
The wheelie bars are really to prevent the car from going way up in the air and then having it slam back down and do damage to the front suspension. That's what they're all about.
In addition to the wide tires and everything else that goes with a race car, the Duster is supercharged.
I wanted to supercharge it, so I used a Roots type supercharger or blower. The man's name that invented these was Roots, R-O-O-T-S. They pumped air down into mining shafts to give the coal workers, the miners, air. That's where this all came from.
And then it was adapted for cars.
Right, and what it does is air and fuel goes in the engine at atmosphere, 14.7, and then it takes it like a blender and homogenizes it almost and increases, breaks it up and pushes it with pressure and fills the cylinders. So you get almost double the horsepower.
A winning scratch ticket at a local supermarket helped fund the building of Paul's car.
And I bought the first ticket I ever bought in my life, a scratch dollar ticket. And it was a 7-11-21 game. I had 11 3-5s and a 6, and I won $10,000. The $10,000 started me on building this car.
The challenge was the engine, since Annunziata wanted a Hemi.
They didn't produce any 426 Hemi engine
in the
Duster. You could get a 318 to 340. Aftermarket, people put 383s in them and 440s, and some people put some Hemis in them like I did.
Considerable modifications were required to fit the 426 Hemi engine into the A-body Duster.
I took it to Lindblad Chassis in Whitensville, Rolly Lindblad. He builds a lot of round cars, stock car stuff. And he did some drag cars. And he tubbed the car, put the roll cage in it, and did the modifications to try to get the Hemi into the engine compartment. Now, a lot of people cut everything out of there so they can get it in there easily.
Because it's big, right?
It's huge.
Yeah.
You have to move the heater in. The master cylinder's got to be moved out. The shock tower on this side has to be folded outboard so it doesn't hit the cylinder heads. It's a very complex, hard car to work on because I wanted to keep the body original and have everything work.
Okay.
So this car's got backup lights, it's got a heater, it's got a defroster, radio. Everything works on this car the way it's supposed to.
Annunziata had help with some of the modifications, with the special bracketry required for the engine and with the paint, but assembled the car himself for a total cost of $27,000.
I had to assemble it. I put every nut, bolt, screw, wire, clip, except the windshield.
How long did it take?
5 years.
This custom-built 1975 Plymouth Duster won its class in the Boston World of Wheels 4 times and the Worcester Centrum Top Honors 1 time. It was awarded the Holly Carburetor Outstanding Engine Custom Award and was featured in Hot Rod magazine in November of 1980. Through a connection made when he owned Annunziata's dyno tune-up in Framingham, Paul was able to